You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hi, we're Enterprise-splaining, the podcast where we explain Star Trek Enterprise to each other and to you. I am Bill, and these are my co-hosts Maria.
Hello!
And Jamie.
Hi.
We are so hyped because today, we've all been waiting for it. Today we're going to be talking about the Star Trek Enterprise episode Minefield. That's right, it's finally happening. The episode that no one can shut up about, Minefield.
Oh no.
However, I'm the only person here who's actually watched it, so it's my job to explain to my co-host what happened in the episode. Computer, tell us a little bit about the episode we'll be talking about this week.
Minefield. Whilst attempting to explore a new planet, Enterprise triggers a cloaked mine. While the crew deal with the resulting damage, it's discovered that another mine is stuck to the hull.
All right, time for 2 truths and a lie. You know how this goes. 3 statements, 2 are true, 1 is a lie. Which is which? Statement number 1. Malcolm tries to prevent something from blowing up.
No way. Absolutely not.
Statement number 2. Enterprise has first contact with an unnamed alien species that threatens to assimilate them. Statement number 3. Malcolm soils himself in front of Archer.
Oh no! Oh no!
I'm gonna go. I know I said 1, there was no way it was true, but I'm gonna go with 3 because I don't like that. I don't like it.
I hope you're right, Jamie.
I don't want it to happen. I'm going with 3.
I'm gonna go with 2 just because the way you said it makes it sound like it's the Borg, and I don't think they would have done that. But who the hell knows with them? They brought the Ferengi in.
And while our listeners ponder what this week's lie may be, let's hear a little bit more about one of our sister podcasts on the ESO network.
Check out the Modern Musicology podcast, where each week we talk about things like
what makes a great drummer,
our favorite rock documentaries,
songs we love by artists we don't love,
our favorite concert memories,
songs that should have been singles,
and all of our favorite music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now.
Do not use Modern Musicology if you're allergic to it. Modern Musicology may produce itching, dizziness, vertigo, temporary blindness, or heart palpitations. Do not taunt Modern Musicology.
Ask your doctor about switching to Modern Musicology.
Okay, quick aside.
Yeah.
This is not a trick question. This is not a joke. I don't just off the top of your beam. I literally just have a question for you.
Okay.
Off the top of your head, how would you describe the relationship between Archer and Malcolm?
Do they have a relationship? Have they ever spoken?
Yeah, it feels quite awkward. It feels to me like Archer wants, like, it's a very sort of subordinate, superior relationship to me. They're not friends the way that Trip and Archer are.
Yeah.
And I feel like Archer, like in that one episode, he realized he knew nothing about Malcolm, so he was trying to learn stuff about him. So I feel like Archer tries to sort of do the right thing as the boss and sort of get to know him, but Malcolm is so closed off that he doesn't really work. So I think it's generally just awkward interactions between the two of them.
Cold open. We're in the mess hall, and Malcolm equals nervous because he's about to have breakfast with Archer. Seriously, it's like these two have never met before. Malcolm is acting like he's about to have his performance review after not actually killing 3,000 people on the Lady Planet.
Yeah, that is weird.
Archer's being very genial. He says that he's not being called into the principal's office. He just wanted to have a long overdue chat. And Archer had Chef prepare his famous Eggs Benedict.
It doesn't seem weird to me that Malcolm would feel weird about this, because we know that Malcolm gets weird in social interactions. And I feel like it's different awkward when he's like they definitely have a very professional relationship, as you mentioned. And I do feel like it's one thing to relate to your boss as your boss, and another thing when your boss is like asking you to come to their quarters for a meal, and now it's like, now I have to socialize with them. That's like way more awkward. So
See, I always thought it was more. I didn't think that they were as good as friends as Trip and Archer, obviously, but I thought like they've had conversations, like they had the whole thing about like their merit badges, and they've had a lot of conversations like when the ship is going on. But I just had anyway. But anyway, you both called it. This is a super stiff and awkward conversation. Archer is trying to engage in idle chat, as you said, just trying to get to know Malcolm a little bit better. And he says, I see that England made it into the World Cup. And Malcolm acts like he has no idea what he's talking about.
Really?
Malcolm doesn't follow soccer or any sport, really. Nor does he express any interest in a topic that he would like to discuss. This is the most awkward. This is almost as bad as that Vulcan ambassador who was literally the worst guest.
I feel like they could at least talk about like polo and water polo, because he's British. Surely he knows about polo. Every British person knows enough about polo to have a conversation, even though it's nothing like water polo.
I was going to say, like, polo and water polo and water polo are not.
It's just in the water and without horses. They're exactly the same other than that.
No mallets. There's not a puck. There's a big ball.
Oh, details. I know nothing about sports either.
A year into this show, we are a year and change into the show. I feel so bad for Dominic Keating because I feel like he's in a constant state of reset with these writers. Like, they cannot give us a solid handle onto this character. And I just feel bad. I think Dominic Keating is doing an okay job with a character who is either an emotional blank or a grade A creep in every other, every other situation, a romantic situation we've seen. So I just want to put that out there. Dominic Keating, you're doing the best job that you can.
I have nothing against him
He's in a
as an
Wesley
actor.
situation.
Yeah, his problem is the script is bad.
Absolutely. He's a badly written character. He is doing everything he can with and I kind of think about this with all of the characters. They are doing all they can with the material that they have.
Yeah, but the way the writers treat Malcolm really sucks for that character. It's almost worse than, the way they treat T'Pol is so bad, but at least they still give her I feel like it's a well-rounded character. I understand who she is. And Malcolm, I just don't even understand him.
I feel the writers give T'Pol good stuff, but they just make every other character treat her like shit. Mm-hmm. But they've given her a stance and opinion and stuff. It's like, Malcolm, I literally have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, but then they also make her as an actress stand behind a thing with light and be at a perfect angle to make sure everybody can see her nipple. So in the scheme of things, I feel like I'd rather be in Dominic Keating's place. But
Back at breakfast, Malcolm does have a request. He wants to add a third duty officer to the armory full time. And Archer says, didn't your mother ever tell you not to bring homework to the table? But he agrees that it is a good idea. T'Pol comes in to tell Archer she's so sorry to interrupt, but the sensors have detected an incredibly awkward conversation normality somewhere in the mess hall. But Dr. Phlox is in medbay, so it can't be him. She doesn't say that. Also, there's a Minshara-class planet ahead. Well, they decide to investigate. Malcolm immediately stands up, and Archer, who is in the middle of his egg Benedict, says, well, perhaps we'll have to reschedule, as Malcolm stands awkwardly in front of the door, and nobody's really sure who should go out first.
Oh, my God.
It's bad.
Oh, that's not great.
The planet is uninhabited, but there's a chain of volcanoes that covers an entire hemisphere. Archer is so excited he's in the mood for some fresh air, so prep a shuttle pod, and holy shit, part of the hull explodes, exposing several decks to the icy void of space. It's been a long road, so you know what that means. It's time for Jamie's Diane Warren update of the week.
Fucking guys, man.
Okay, so at the time that we are recording this, we are still 2 weeks before the Oscars. And so Diane Warren is very, very busy promoting her song, The Journey, which is nominated for a Best Original Song Oscar. And one of our listeners and fellow ESO network person, Elaine Whiting-Sweatman, sent me an article today about how the Academy announced that they are not going to be doing original song performances this year.
Oh, yeah.
Diane Warren is pissed, as she should be.
Oh my God.
I would imagine.
Really?
Yeah, the article says that it's because they want to have time to honor firefighters instead because of all the fires. But I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like, for how long? Like, they need like 30 minutes of firefighter stuff, but maybe. But I suspect that the real reason is because one of the songs that was nominated is sung by Carla Sofia Gascon in Amelia Perez. And she is the one who people just discovered her extremely racist and Islamophobic tweets. And so I have a feeling. So the other thing is that it's a very weak slate this year. Like none of these songs are all that exciting. And I think that they just were like, how are we going to deal with this? And then we're like, what if we just don't do any performances at all?
Or
Interesting.
do 5 different interpretations of Faith of the Heart.
Oh my God.
But I do think because it is such a weak slate, Diane Warren has an actual shot at winning this year. I took a look at all the nominated songs. The first one is Never Too Late from the Elton John documentary. It's a duet between Elton John and Brandy Carlisle. And it is cheesier than a Diane Warren song. It is so cheesy.
Whoa. You're telling me that an Elton John song is cheesy?
Faith of the Heart is a better song than this
First of all,
song.
how dare you?
Faith of the Heart is a better song than this song. It's just not very good. I don't know. I listened to it and I was not impressed. So, and then on top of that, we've got 2 songs from Amelia Perez. We have the one I mentioned earlier. It's called El Mal. It's sung by Zoe Saldana and Carla Sofia Gascon. It's the one for anybody who saw the movie, which if you have not, I don't recommend. I did not like this movie, but it's the one when they're at the fundraising event and it's all about how all the donors are corrupt. It represented everything I hated about I personally hated about the music in that movie, which was it's all like talk singing. Did you guys see that movie?
I did not know.
Yeah, I don't recommend. The other Amelia Perez song that got a nomination is Mi Camino, which is sung by Selena Gomez. And it was my personal favorite song from the movie. It was the only song from the movie I actually liked. But I just feel like the whole movie Amelia Perez right now is just considered too toxic. Like there's too many controversies going on. The last song is Like a Bird from the movie Sing Sing. And I listened to it today and it was absolutely beautiful. It was my personal favorite of all these songs. So I really think that it's between Diane Warren's song and this song from Sing Sing. But as the Diane Warren correspondent, I will be watching the Oscars and will report back in 2 weeks, even though you guys, as you're listening to this, presumably already know who won, but maybe you don't, and you're just going to wait for me to tell you 2 weeks from now.
Thank you, Jamie. We are back on the bridge in full red alert mode. Everything is burning. Archer asks for a report. Hoshi has been injured by an exploding panel. Yes, we've got one of those here.
Yay.
And 8 subsections have decompressed. Bulkheads are holding, but there is no word on if anyone's dead.
Oof. Is this the worst disaster they've had thus far? This, other than, like, it seems like a pretty...
It looks very dramatic. T'Pol says it was some kind of thermokinetic explosion, but sensor logs aren't showing any cause. Archer calls down to engineering. Trip has no idea what caused it, but all hell is breaking loose. Engineering is full of smoke. People are running around. Lots of smoke and shaky camera work.
Maybe it's a minefield.
You mean an emotional minefield as they sort out their feelings?
whole fucking minefield. Why would you name the episode? Here's a thought. Perhaps it's a minefield. Sorry. Please continue. Didn't mean to cause a spoiler here.
Please.
A spoiler that's in the name of the episode.
Yes.
They get an initial report. There are no fatalities, but 17 people are injured. In medbay, Phlox is doing triage, and everybody's confused about what happened. There are just tons of people flooding into medbay. Other people are, helping injured people in, asking Phlox questions and stuff, and he's just trying to keep it all together.
I'm surprised nobody died. How did nobody die?
I don't know.
Star Trek world. Is anybody helping Phlox, or is it just Phlox?
That's a good question. People are asking him for advice and appear to be helping him, but there's not any. Again, everybody's wearing the same uniform, so it's hard to tell if there's other medical personnel there.
Yeah.
On the bridge, Travis detects something has stuck itself to the ship. Archer asks for a visual, and they spot it. It's very blurry at first. It's got some kind of cloaking device, and it is some kind of mine.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. I would never have guessed.
Malcom runs a scan and detects that it has armed itself. And T'Pol points out that it's attached near the impulse reactor, and if it goes off, it could disable the entire ship. Malcom says that someone has to go out and defuse it, and since he has the training, it has to be him. Archer nods, and Malcom leaves.
All right, Malcom tries to stop something from blowing up.
Yep.
So we were both right on that.
Archer says the classic line we all know, "I've never heard of a minefield with just 2 mines." He tells Mayweather to open up the quantum beacons that they used to detect the Suliban ship that was cloaked that are still attached to the grappler.
Oh, I'm surprised they didn't destroy that. I just thought maybe because of time stuff Daniels would have asked them to destroy it after.
T'Pol points out that they were designed to detect Suliban cloaking devices, but she'll try some technobabble to make it work here. Malcom suits himself up for a spacewalk and walks into an airlock by himself. Doesn't bring anyone with him. Watch this sequence. I want you to pay attention. He just puts his helmet, I know this is Star Trek future tech, but he just puts his helmet on in a way that doesn't appear, I guess it just seals itself, because he just puts the helmet on and walks into the airlock and opens it. It's like, my dude, you need to check this shit.
Normally, at least, normally they have somebody else, you have somebody check everything externally, too.
Yeah. But
I feel like we've seen them do this.
I would think anytime you're going into an airlock, there should be multiple people. You shouldn't even be able to airlock yourself from in the airlock.
But it is an emergency, so maybe.
It just struck me that he just seems to put the helmet on and not check this.
Yeah, I still think there would be some sort of checking. You got to check everything.
Instead of him just putting his helmet on like he's going to ride a bike,
Yeah, and then just walking to the airlock and airlocking himself.
It literally looks like the people who just put the bike helmet on without the straps being locked down. But what do I know? T'Pol has detected something using the grappler. They are surrounded by mines. There's all kinds of little cloak devices around them. Malcom walks across the body of the ship and approaches his target. It kind of looks like a little mini Death Star. It's an orb, and it looks very mechanically shaped, and it has a little one spindly leg that has attached itself to the Enterprise.
Is it big?
It's bigger than Malcom.
Oh shit, it's that big. Oh. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's about the size of Malcom. Okay,
right.
It's
that's way bigger than I was envisioning.
Yeah. No, it is a fairly large thing. So in the classic manner of disarming mines, I love these scenes in movies.
They're little wires, different colors.
Yep. Oh yeah, the 100%. We're gonna get a lot of that. Malcolm starts narrating the disarming process in the classic manner, describing the look of the alien object he's never seen before, and to Jamie's point of how all alien judicial courts in Star Trek are exactly like U.S. courts. Disarming this alien device will exactly conform to the basic standards of how we know minds work from TV and movies, and I don't begrudge them that. I love this. I love this whole, my favorite thing.
Is Malcolm? Do we get a lot of close-ups of Malcolm's face and like sweat dripping down as he's getting
sweat,
worried?
but we do get a lot of close-ups.
Does he have a little
like
space
breathing heavily?
scissors? Is he? Oh no, I guess he wouldn't have a scissors. He's doing it with a laser. Like he's like gonna laser the wire. He's like, should it be blue or red? And he has to pick.
I made a note about this, so I might bring it up later. He literally has a toolbox with him that he brings with him to disarm this device. None of these tools are tethered to anything. And you might say that the ship is generating some sort of gravitic field, but typically when we see astronauts in the depth of space, everything's tied down pretty good.
Yeah. Wow.
Malcolm notes that there are lots of pockmarks on the surface of the mine, and it's probably been in orbit for some time, and the spikes appear to be magnetic. Malcolm gives it a scan and starts to open it. Trip enters the bridge, and he is covered in soot, like he's about to sing Chim Chimney from Mary Poppins. I'm not even joking. Like,
which is like his eyes.
He looks like Bert from
Does
Mary
he have
Poppins.
a terrible British accent too?
He does not, although it would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be great? Hello, governor.
T'Pol sticks a paper clip into his neck to reset him back to Florida man mode. But he reports that they didn't lose anyone in engineering or in the rest of the ship, but they won't know the full damage until he can get into the sections that blowed up. He doesn't say blowed up, but I thought he should have.
He meant blowed up.
Archer says that he's not sure Malcolm will be able to defuse the mine. Burn.
Fair? That's a fair point, though.
And can they detach the plating and let it drift away?
With Malcolm also on the plating.
Yes, please, can we?
He doesn't say that.
Then I don't have to do his performance review.
Trip explains how they would have to detach a lot of bolts and stuff like that. It would take about 3 to 4 hours and would expose a good piece of the engine manifold. Archer tells him to get started. Malcolm continues his narration as he's disarming this device when he sees something in the distance. Well, that is part of the disarming process. Reminds us that in case you fuck up and blow yourself up, somebody knows what you did.
Yeah.
Malcolm continues his narration when he sees something in the distance that is not a mine. It decloaks. It's green. It's glowing. You've seen it before. It's a Romulan bird of prey.
No. Wow.
We are back from commercials.
Wow.
No one, not even T'Pol, has seen a ship like this before, and it's deflecting their scans. The ship has decloaked, and in a neat bit of meta writing, T'Pol explains that the quantum scanner didn't work on the ship because the mines probably used a more primitive cloaking technology. Okay, you close that loop, Enterprise writers. Jamie, you had a question.
Yeah. So I actually don't know the history of the Romulan because again, like I haven't seen a ton of Star Trek.
Sure.
I mean I know who the Romulans are from Next Generation and DS9, but they don't show up that often. So I guess like clearly at this point the Vulcans had not come across what is the history
the Vulcans have to know about the Romulans. They just maybe don't know about that ship.
Well, okay, so when the Romulans are introduced for the first time in the original series, humanity and the Romulans have been at war, but they never saw each other. They didn't have the technology, or the Romulans simply never revealed themselves. And they didn't know. It's actually a huge reveal in that episode of the original series that the Romulans look exactly like the Vulcans. Okay. The other thing is that the Romulan cloaking device is a huge deal. It's like this ship that we don't know what has been destroying these bases. And it's like, so it's kind of a cheat that cloaking devices exist in Enterprise.
Way back then, yeah.
Yeah, way back then. But the idea that the Enterprise had something that could detect and diffuse cloaks, that was a flaw, and they sort of fixed that with this. It's like, oh no, it uses a different technology. But yeah, so when we first see Romulans, nobody has ever seen a Romulan. There's only been voice conversation.
Okay,
Even the Vulcans?
Yeah, that's what I was.
No, the Vulcans do. The Vulcan, like, it's literally a huge deal that we find out that the Romulans look exactly like Vulcans. There's actually a little bit of I guess racism in that episode because with Spock, because one of the crew members, he had people killed that he knew, and it's like, oh, maybe Spock is actually a spy in this
Okay,
episode.
but the Vulcans already knew about the Romulans.
That's what I'm confused about. I thought the Romulans and the Vulcans always knew about each other.
We'll get into that. They know that the Romulans exist, but they know nothing else about
Okay, they're gonna explain it in this episode.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
They know the name.
It's exciting. I'm excited
ship,
to get some Romulans.
Yeah, this is cool.
The alien ship hails them by voice, but the UT isn't locking on. And as you might remember, Hoshi was knocked out, so she is down in Med Bay. Archer calls down there and asks for Hoshi, and Phlox says she has a concussion and can't help.
Wait,
Archer
are they on
says,
video?
Is who on video?
Wait, you said they had a call, right?
The alien ship, who they have not identified, is hailing them, but it's only audio, and they can't
it's only
translate.
Audio. Okay.
They can't trade. They can't. We never see the Romulans in this episode.
Okay. So that way it doesn't ruin the original series episode.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I just pulled something up that helps me understand it, so it might help you understand it.
It says Enterprise is a bad show, and don't pay attention to anything.
And never watched it. For centuries, the Vulcans were aware of the Romulans as an alien race, but had no idea that the two species shared an ancestral history. So they share a common ancestor. They're like dogs and wolves, but they were not aware. I always thought, based on what I knew, which is nothing, that
separatist that they
knew about each other, or that they knew each other and had always sort of been at kind of war against each other. But so I never realized that. So that's cool. And that's how they split up. That's how I always thought of it.
There's been so much lore about the interaction between these two species in the years, but as of the original series, this is what we know.
Okay.
Very cool.
But to recap, Phlox says that Hoshi has a concussion and cannot help. Archer says he understands, but Hoshi, from her bed, struggles to get up and says, "Tell them I'm on my way." And Phlox says, "You have a concussion. You are in no condition to go."
Yeah, when you have a concussion, I don't know. I guess every concussion I think is different, but I know when I had my concussion, I had very bad brain fog for a week.
But also, like, there is a long-standing tradition in TV of people functioning with concussions, like, even though they shouldn't be able to.
It's like amnesia. It's one of those made-for-TV diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back on the bridge, T'Pol is struggling with the translation, and it's not so easy when you have to do it, is it, T'Pol?
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah,
actually.
same.
And the unnamed alien ship fires a warning shot that just misses them and actually goes over Malcolm's head as he's still standing on the hull trying to disarm this device.
I forgot he was still out there.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, "Hey, the hell, guys!"
Archer wants to get out of there, but the path through the mines is pretty tricky. Archer decides to break orbit to get through the minefield and hails Malcolm with the info. And Malcolm says, "Well, if you decide to go to warp, please let me know." Archer tells Travis Archer tells Travis to get them out of the minefield using maneuvering thrusters, and I swear to God, a little joystick pops out of the control panel. And Travis starts driving the ship using this little control panel as it moves, as he tries to weave away. It's like it's like that level of a video game. The bird of prey cloaks itself again. Malcom IDs that the mine has 4 detonation circuits and it'll take time, but he thinks he can do it. Travis sees a path out of the minefield, and as he turns the ship, it judders slightly, just as Malcom is making an adjustment, causing the mine to extend another spike, which goes through Malcolm's spacesuit and his leg.
Oh my God.
Ow! Owie, 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 ow.
Malcom screams and falls down. Luckily, his suit exudes a foam which seals the hole, but now he's on his back, pinned to the ship. He calls to the bridge to explain this development. Archer, say it with me, announces that he's going to rescue him. And Trip's like,
Of course.
I should go, I'm the engineer. And to this entirely rational statement, Archer replies, "That's why I need you here," and shuts the turbo lift door. Back in medbay, there's a crewman who has a huge burn on his shoulder with his torn uniform, and Phlox advises him that he'll have to wait for an asthmatic eel to cauterize the wound, but he's getting quite a workout today, and I'm like, you don't have bandages?
Oh my God, Phlox.
Hoshi wants to go to the bridge, but Phlox says she wouldn't make it to the turbo lift. Phlox offers to have the comms log sent to medbay so that Hoshi can review them while she's in bed with concussion.
I mean, that's all right. That makes sense to me.
It's an emergency situation, and
I understand.
That makes sense.
It does make sense.
Archer is suited up and he is on the hull. He scans Malcolm's leg with a little doodad. He wants to cut through the spike to free Malcom, but Malcom says they can't because the spike has detonation circuits in it, and if they cut that, the mine will go off. They could amputate the leg, Malcom says, but if Chef got a hold of it, they might be having roast reed for Sunday dinner.
Oh,
He's
no.
Here.
Wow. That's good for Malcom for
A little
being
British
able to crack a
step up our
joke and
lip.
all of that. Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that.
Malcom asks Archer to give him a painkiller so he can get back to work, and there are 2 problems with this. One is he's on his butt trying to defuse a bomb while painkillers are working through his system.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bad idea. Archer explains the backup plan of detaching the hull, but it'll mean leaving Malcom floating off into space. Archer...
If you want to make an omelet.
Actually, Malcom is actually okay with that plan and says that they should do that. I think that might be a little bit later because he's completely dedicated to the protection of the ship.
Yeah.
Archer gives Malcom the painkillers and explains to a now drugged Malcom that he's going to walk Archer through the disarming process. Malcom objects that Archer is untrained in this delicate work, and Archer says, "Good point, peace out, end of episode." No, he gets Malcom to agree to do it.
It does not make any sense for Archer to be out there. I understand why they wouldn't want to send Trip because they need him for other stuff. But there's got to be other technical people on this ship.
80-something people on this ship. Somebody else should be on there.
There are 2 other armory officers.
Yeah, they're in an absolute emergency here.
And
they have an unknown alien enemy who's attacking them. And Archer's like...
Are you suggesting that the captain should be on the bridge at this time?
Yes, I do.
And it's not like, I understand him being like, I'm going to be the one to go into danger, but he also has no skills to be able to do this. And even if Malcom is the only expert in this, just having somebody there who understands like all the technical terms and stuff and maybe understands it a little bit, it'd be much easier for Malcolm to walk them through it.
It would be even better to send to Paul because she's like at least like super science minded, understands it, and is cool under pressure. None of which any of these other guys are.
Like Malcolm is, I was gonna say the last person on the ship I would send, but I guess Hoshi's the last. Like I wouldn't send Hoshi out there.
Well, Malcolm's already there.
Archer is the last person.
Archer. Yeah, so maybe he's not the last, but he's one of the last people. In fact, actually, I would send Hoshi if there were only two
with
people
a
left
concussion?
on the ship. I would send Hoshi with a concussion before I would send Archer, because again, Archer is the captain. Like he needs to be on the ship. What if they get in contact with these other aliens again, and they need to know what to do?
Then T'Pol can handle that. To be fair, T'Pol will handle it better.
This is 100%. Kirk was the lead of the show, therefore Kirk led every away mission. So.
No, that's exactly what that is, yeah.
In sickbay, Hoshi, who had a concussion, has successfully translated the message, "Fuck you, T'Pol."
I like it.
They are ordering us to leave their system immediately or they'll destroy us. Trip asks her to compose a reply that they're leaving as fast as they can. There is a second message. The aliens have annexed this planet in the name of the Romulan Star Empire, according to Hoshi. So after calling them the Klingons, Hoshi is 2 for 2 in getting the names of classic Trek aliens wrong. Every other race she doesn't have a problem with. Only if we know the actual...
She didn't call them the Klingons. That was some random person.
God damn it.
It was some random guy.
Don't you dare correct. They say resistance is futile. They are called the Blurg. Ruined my joke.
Sorry. I'm sorry. You can cut it out.
Right.
Sorry.
Romulan, says T'Pol. It's pronounced Romulan.
Okay, so T'Pol has heard of them.
They have heard of them. They relay all this to Archer, and he remembers that Daniels book blocked him from reading anything about them, but he has heard the name.
Right. I forgot about that.
T'Pol explains that T'Pol explains that they're rumored to be an aggressive territorial species, but the Vulcans have never made direct contact. Archer, at this point, has taken 2 detonators offline, and they have 3 more to go. Back to the disarming talk, lots of stuff about how you have to do the exact right thing at the exact right moment. It's pretty good dialogue. I love stuff like this. Like, you need to do this, you need to do this, it's great. My only objection is it's not shot in a tense way. Like, you don't see close-up of the tools, like, turning.
Yeah, that's what you gotta see, like, and the different colored wires.
Like,
and
you don't,
Is
there a countdown?
No, there's no countdown. You don't see anything like this. It could have been, this really could have been shot in a much more tense way.
It's those Baywatch camera people. And
In the middle of all this extremely delicate work, Archer wants to continue their breakfast conversation about not following sports. Maybe it's the painkillers, but Malcolm gets a little sassy. I'm afraid I haven't started following any teams since this morning, sir. He then tells Archer the next thing he needs to do to disarm the bomb they are standing next to.
Oh my god.
Archer's like, how about hobbies? Any hobbies? No.
Pineapple eating.
Yeah. Archer's, I swear I could have seen you reading books in the mess hall. He asks why we're having this conversation right now, and Archer says it helps me focus and it calms my nerves. Malcolm says he's reading Ulysses.
About me.
No. Malcolm says he's reading Ulysses, and Archer decides to leave him there to die. None of that happens.
That's clearly what you want.
Archer suspects he made Malcolm nervous this morning. Why? And Malcolm says he was honored by the invitation. He wasn't comfortable having a casual meal with his captain. And I'm like, you guys have known each other for a year. You have been on missions together. And it's like, Malcolm continues, I was trained not to fraternize with superior officers. And Archer says it's never too late to learn, and Malcolm disagrees. That kind of socializing has no place on a starship. And I'm like, can you imagine if Malcolm spent 5 minutes on Strange New Worlds and saw how Pike runs his ship? His head would explode.
Yes, and also Malcolm talks about T'Pol constantly in a creepy, leery way, and she is a superior officer.
Yeah.
So,
Don't disagree.
there is some bullshit there.
Archer says he understands that impulse. He had a CO once who told him, they're your crew, not your friends. And he's thought about that a lot. But this is not a typical mission. They could be in deep space for years, and all they have to depend on is each other.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's like different.
It's different.
I know we talk about it as a workplace because it is a workplace, but I do feel like a workplace where you're like living together and secluded from everything else, and you're at the workplace.
Cannot leave the workplace
24 hours a day
Right.
for
It's the
over a
space station.
year. Yeah, it's more it's more than just a workplace, and in order to actually have that like what's the word? What's the like when you
Camaraderie.
work and then no, I was thinking like you work and then you don't work.
Work-life balance?
Yes, thank you.
What does it mean when you don't work? Jamie, I think maybe you work too much.
Like you can't get true work-life balance when you're living at your work. But I feel like that's why we see like on Next Generation how they have these sort of like social clubs and they're like putting on plays and playing music and people have hobbies because you have to have like an outside work thing, and it's just but now you have to do your outside work thing at work.
Yeah, and they're encouraged to do that.
Yeah.
They're encouraged to have that and be able to fraternize with people.
Yeah, and part of that
there's
is
a whole
like,
like,
having friends.
I mean, you look at the way that like NASA works today, like you also have to have like psychological tests to make sure that you have enough balance to be able to focus on, you know, people as well as whatever.
There's no way anybody on this ship has been through a psychological test.
No, for sure not.
No, I disagree. They were sent through a psychological evaluation. That's why they were all sent on this ship.
They're like, we discovered that all of these people actually are not good for being here on Earth. So let's just, what if we got rid of them?
We didn't think they'd last this long.
The ship hasn't blown up yet?
Yeah.
Archer tells Malcolm that he appreciates all of these suggestions and anything else. And Malcolm says, well, breach protocols have become somewhat lax. Too many people are offering their opinions. We're here to carry out the captain's orders. And like, this kind of works for me if it was Worf saying this.
I was just about to say this sounds very Worf.
It is very Worf, but Malcolm is not Worf.
Nope.
Malcolm's only thing is he likes blowing up shit. He's not a disciplinarian.
Yeah, blowing up shit and like talking about women in creepy ways.
And he has shown us nothing that shows he would be a good leader. He's
Again,
you know, technically sound, I suppose, but not like,
If this was Malcolm's deal, was that he was the tight ass on the ship, that would be. I feel like they're trying to reach for something for Malcolm.
But we've seen him in the past be the opposite of that because we had the scene where Trip was being the tight ass and Malcolm was like, "Oh, stop being such a tight ass." Yeah, and Malcolm is the one that's like, "Who cares about the rules?" And now all of a sudden he's a rule follower.
They keep changing the rules for Malcolm, which is
agreed.
Well,
I think they're really trying to get they've really spent a long time trying to get his character figured out, and they just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird even that he seems like he's remaining like calm and collected in this scene, which is also not how we've seen him in the past.
Yeah.
Archer replies to this, what is the point of having senior officers if they keep their mouths shut? He relies on their opinions, but keep going, Malcolm. And Malcolm says, in the area of security, I think you could show a little more caution. And I'm like, yeah, I fucking agree with Malcolm on this point.
Yeah, but
I'm
also,
with him
is
on
that not Malcolm's job?
That's a good point.
Archer is constantly defying, like, what is the common sense approach to take here. But it has been a privilege to have served with you. And Archer's like, no, you're talking in the past tense. Because, of course, they're not going to die here.
Well, no.
They go back to the disarming process, and Malcolm tells them, okay, that thing you just did, do it again, but backwards. This is all, again, just great, fine disarming process. You need to do the thing, they need to do the thing, you need to do the thing. Back on the bridge, Travis has cleared the minefield stage and now gets to collect bonus coins for 30 seconds.
Also, he's still got the joystick, right?
100%. 100%.
Doesn't that mean that it shouldn't be called a Riker maneuver? It should be called the Mayweather maneuver? Because if he did it first, because Jamie in the movie Insurrection, that exactly thing happens, and a joystick rises up, and Riker leads them through a thing with a joystick.
No, the Riker maneuver is going over the chair one-legged. I mean, that's the Riker maneuver.
No, but Geordi literally says, we're going to call this the Riker maneuver. It's a thing. Look it up, man!
Trip offers to let Mayweather stand down, but he wants to stay at his post. T'Pol, who has the con but is not doing her perched pose, calls Archer.
What is she doing?
She's
She just
sitting there.
slumped back there.
She's found out that it has a recline function and she's got it kicked out.
She pushes a button and it goes and goes backwards. Okay, sorry.
T'Pol calls to Archer and says that they've cleared the minefield, and he says maintain course and speed. They are on the last detonator, but it's a tricky one, as they always are. We have to disarm it while convincing it that it's still armed. Archer continues their heart-to-heart conversation. You must have realized that this wasn't a typical posting, that my command style obviously lacked spin and polish. And Malcolm says, it was obvious.
Damn, Malcolm!
This is the most I've ever loved Malcolm. I'm kind of enjoying him in this.
Yeah,
And
me too.
Archer says you came from a long line of Navy men. Why Starfleet? So here's my question is, what does the Navy do on future Earth? I mean, I guess obviously we still need it. Rescue operations? I mean, we're sort of a one world government. Maybe there's pirates and stuff like that.
They're like a giant Coast Guard.
I guess.
The whole, I mean, that's the only thing that really makes sense.
But apparently Malcolm's family is still obsessed with this tradition, which I know.
Mm-hmm.
Which checks out because they're British.
Okay. So why didn't Malcolm join the Navy? And he says, God knows I tried.
Wait, the Navy didn't let him in, so he got into Starfleet?
On their, top mission?
Malcolm says that he was raised on the water. He could sail a ship before he could ride a bike. He read all the great naval battles.
I don't think you need to sail to work on a Navy ship, but okay.
And he supposed he'd just grow out of it. Grow out of what, says Archer? Aquaphobia. More precisely, Malcolm is afraid of drowning. And Archer says, so you chose the vacuum of space.
Yeah. I understand. I mean, I think that phobias are not rational.
Oh,
Yeah,
and they're
that's fair.
specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. As they continue the process of disarming the mine, Malcolm says he had a great uncle with the same problem, but he faced his fear and had a distinguished career. Malcolm's great uncle signed up for the submarine service, worked his way up to the engineer of the HMS Clement. Do you know the story of the Clement? Archer says no. They do more disarming stuff. The Clement was on a routine patrol. They had an accident and hit a mine left over from some world war. They were trapped under an ice shelf. Compartments were flooding, ship was sinking, and his great uncle, a man afraid of drowning, but He sealed himself in the engine room and kept the reactor running long enough for the crew to make it to the escape pods. He did what he had to do to save his crewmates. Archer says, I appreciate what you're trying to tell me, but I hope you'll be able to save your heroics for another time.
Malcolm says, that's dark as shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, there you go. Malcolm says, I am prepared, Captain. I hear you. Captain, the safety of the crew is... I said I heard you, Lieutenant. It's actually, this is a nice scene between these two actors. Archer continues to make adjustments. And then Malcolm says, I'm afraid we have another problem, Captain. Archer says, what is it? I need to use the bathroom. And I'm like, you go in the suit. Everybody knows that if you're in space, you go in the suit.
What, is he not wearing an astronaut diaper?
What is the problem here?
We have known this since the right stuff. This has been the joke. Right. We know. You go in the suit.
Astronauts wear diapers.
And frankly, I'm surprised this didn't happen. We got a spike through his leg.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus.
Also, I'm trying to think of another time just on Star Trek where anyone's ever mentioned needing a bathroom when it wasn't they were just doing a feint to try to get out of a cell or something.
It's pretty rare that you ever hear about a bathroom in Star Trek.
The only thing I recall about bathrooms in Star Trek is that there's a joke on the Enterprise D, the map. There is one bathroom on the entire Malcolm says there's another problem, and Archer says, I said go in the suit. He doesn't say that. The Romulans are back, and this time they have more ships. They are being hailed. The Romulans say, you ignored our warnings. T'Pol says, they've only just translated their language, and they're trying to disarm a mine. The Romulans say that they know all this. They also know that they've been preparing to dislodge the hull section, so do that and fuck off. The Romulans do not care that there is a crewman on that section, and they will not tolerate espionage. Paul relates this to Arch. The Romulans.
These guys think they're capable of espionage?
Exactly.
Also, what espionage is possibly happening in this situation?
What if this Romulan crew is the Enterprise equivalent of the Romulan crew, and they are equally as incompetent? It was the first Romulan crew that was sent out in space. Archer is working on the last detonator, but whatever he's doing, it doesn't work. It is rearming. He has to redo the thing. It works this time, only it doesn't. They've triggered a sub-detonator, and they are completely fucked. Malcolm says, Captain, those heroics we spoke about, I think it may be time. Because of what happened, they would have to disarm the entire mine, which I thought is what they were doing. But okay, apparently
what were they doing?
Nope. No. Malcolm is ready to die to protect the ship, but Archer wants to see a diagnostic. They banter for a bit, and Malcolm tells Archer he has to detach the hull plating. And this is where I had this thought. Transporter!
Oh, great point! What the fuck? Never asked, never answered.
Just thinking. I know that they've only used it in emergency situations. I think this qualifies.
Yeah,
but they've used it a lot in emergency situations.
Yeah.
I mean, they transported Malcolm multiple times.
Malcolm detaches the air hose from his helmet in a frankly baller move. Archer reattaches the hose, but Malcolm's air supply is so low that Archer has to attach his air supply to Malcolm's suit. There's lots of red flashy lights here. I was like, if I was the captain, I'd think, I'm going to bust your ass back to crewman.
Yeah, this feels like I understand what Malcolm's doing, but it also feels like he's actually making it worse.
It's so much drama. Calm down. Figure your shit out.
He cannot handle being under pressure. And I feel like at first I was like, oh, it seems like he's handling being under pressure. But actually, no, it sounds like he's not. He's just like, I guess I have to die now. And he's just like, why won't you let me just die? Like, it's the only thing to do. And it's like, calm down. We're not there. When we're there, but we're not there yet.
On Shuttle Pod 1, yeah.
In Shuttle Pod 1, he was like, well, I guess I'm dead. I gotta message every girl I ever fucked. Or pretended I fucked, even though I didn't. All right.
Archer starts asking questions about how long it took for the mine to rearm and how many kilotons of explosives we're talking about. Malcom is confused. Trip and T'Pol are at the airlock, meeting Archer, who announces they're going to detach the plating. And pause. I'm sure you did everything you could, Captain, says T'Pol. And Archer's like, no, we're not leaving him to die. I'm going back out.
Like, are you sure? I mean...
This is a problem that can kind of solve itself. You know?
Yeah.
Archer says to Trip, I'm going back out there. Could a shuttle pod hatch withstand a kiloton blast at a range of 25 meters? And Trip says, well, they're reinforced with duratanium alloy. And Archer says, give me 2 of them. So here's the plan. They're going to detach the hull. Archer and Malcom are going to have 2 shuttle pod doors in front of them so that when the mine explodes, they will be okay. That's what they do. The Romulans show up. They charge weapons. Archer cuts the spike in Malcolm's leg. The mine rearms, and they float away using the shuttle pod hatches, which they are able to orient themselves perfectly without any kind of propulsion system. You know how when astronauts go out for spacewalks, they have the little jetpack things? They don't have that. They are just able to turn themselves.
All right.
The minute goes boom. They are saved and floating in space. Travis spots them. T'Pol says to open the launch bay doors. They get them both back inside. Romulans lock the weapons. T'Pol summons Phlox to the launch bay, and Malcom gets them into it. T'Pol tells Travis to go to warp, and they get the fuck out of there.
Jesus.
Malcom and Archer are in the launch bay comparing notes about the adventure. So how long was it? That's a rather personal question, sir.
Jesus, really?
Malcom says, sorry, that's my insert about a Monty Python joke.
I was gonna say.
Just inserting the Monty Python joke.
The thing is I didn't even question that is something that Malcom would say. Like, that seems right.
No, it was, this is in reference to something earlier about, like, how far will we float away before the mine explodes? How many seconds will it be? And Malcom says, I counted 10 seconds. And Archer says, 10? It was more like 20. Respectfully, sir, it was more like 10. I'm not going to argue with you, Malcom. It was 20. End of episode.
Oh my god. Okay, that's weird. That's a weird way to end it.
Weird ending.
General thoughts. What are they doing with Malcom? They're trying to get to some understanding of this character. Maybe
I said briefly, I was like, oh, I kind of like this because it sounded like there were 2 scenes that were kind of fun, and then he went back to being Malcom.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I've said what I've said before. I feel bad for Dominic Keating because they're just resetting his character over and over again. Yeah. Porthos Good Boy scale. There is no Porthos in this episode.
I wanted Porthos out on the hull with little magnetic plates on his little pawsies, like. Doop, 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 doop.
I want to see a dog spacesuit.
With a little spacesuit that has space for his tail so it wags. Like, I want all of that.
I considered that for my True Truths and Lies, that we learn what Porthos's EVO suit looks like, but you would have shut me down. You two would have picked that out immediately.
There's no way.
I would have, but it would have been so cute.
It would have been very cute.
I would have been like, I know that that's a lie, but I will not choose it as a lie because I want it to happen so badly.
Technical difficulties. There's lots of discussions about the various components of the detonators. Good stuff if you're into that. I love discussions about like disarming bombs. You have to do this and then that and this and then that. It wasn't shot in a particularly chilling way, but it's okay. What the Phlox I appreciate the Phlox is dealing with an overloaded medbay, but my dude, you can treat injuries without your fucking eels. There is medicine exists. You can put, like, we have Neosporin and things that you can put on wounds.
Throw an eel at it.
Yes, Chef. Any mentions of Chef? Archer says that he has had Chef prepare his famous Eggs Benedict.
I love Eggs Benedict. I would be all over. Like, I would like Chef Dorothy's recipe for Eggs Benedict because I would eat the shit out of that.
Did we have any food on this episode? Or
Yeah, they were having
in
breakfast.
that first scene. And they were so we saw the Eggs Benedict.
Yes, they brought in the Egg Benedicts, and they had orange juice and everything, but they didn't actually get... Archer maybe got like a spoonful in it before they encountered the Mishara planet. Yeah, they didn't get to have a full meal.
That's too bad, because Eggs Benedict don't keep. Like, you gotta eat it right there, or it's not gonna be any good after.
Yeah, so presumably there is a Chef Dorothy Eggs Benedict recipe out there somewhere.
Yeah,
because she made the Eggs Benedict for the episode.
Where is HR? This is not a really problematic episode. Malcolm honestly expresses his concerns about Archer's management style, and Archer responds to them while they disarm a bomb.
It's the best time to do a review.
Really?
A performance review. We're going to do a performance review while I'm disarming this bomb, and you have part of the bomb sticking through your leg.
That was one of my two truths and a lie for this episode is Malcolm gets penetrated. Saucy section on a scale from the terry cloth loungewear of Star Trek the Motion Picture to the black lace spandex club outfit Captain Angel wore in Strange New World. What was that thing? She was supposed to be like a counselor, wasn't she? It was fine. This was not a saucy episode. There were no showers, no lingerie, no underwear. Yep. Burn.
I mean, at least, it doesn't seem like Malcolm talked about ladies very much, which is a positive.
Nice. Yeah. Some growth.
Yeah, he was not composing farewell messages as he was laying there.
He wasn't like, oh no, I have this thing in my leg, but my ladies how will I perform the next time I have to have sex with actual human women, which is a thing I absolutely do.
And now we come to Will's Holorex, brought to you by Eric, trademark. That's right, we have a sponsor.
That's right.
Jamie's spouse, Eric, is giving us $1 to make sure that we say the name of this segment properly.
Is it $1 each? He wants to know if it's $1 each or $1
No, it's $1 split
It's
between the three of us.
Just $1. It's just $1.
For the listeners,
we know our worth.
So for the listeners, I told last time we recorded, I told Maria and Bill that my spouse Eric, who is the one that came up with both the idea to call the segment Will's Holorex and the word Rikermendation, there was one episode where I think it was a Bill episode, and Bill forgot to mention that the segment was called Will's Holorex. And let me tell you, Eric was like, why do you guys not call that segment Will's Holorex anymore? And I'm like, we definitely do. We just forgot one time. And so, yeah, Bill said that now it's sponsored by him and he needs to pay us per episode.
$1.
$1 per episode.
It's that extra penny that's going to break this podcast apart. This is the segment of our show we call Will's Holorex, where we give our recommendations for non-Enterprise related content that we've been consuming in our holodecks this week. Maria, would you like to go first?
Sure. My recommendation for this week is a lovely little animated movie called The Wild Robot. It has been, I think it's been nominated for a couple, maybe 3 Oscars. It is fantastic. It is the story, way in the future of a robot that's goal is to help out in somebody's house that gets the delivery of it gets screwed up and it ends up in the middle of the forest and it doesn't know what to do and it has to learn about all the animals around it, which are effectively trying to kill it, and it becomes friends with it. It's such a beautiful movie. It's beautiful and it's fun and it's funny. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's a DreamWorks. Movie.
Yeah, I've been really wanting to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's worth. I think it. It's just great.
Jamie, what is your recommendation?
All right, I also have a movie to recommend. The movie Conclave. I absolutely loved this movie. It's about a conclave to elect a new pope. It's basically I'm Jewish. I don't really understand Catholicism, but it's
girl. I was raised Catholic. I don't understand Catholicism.
All of the cardinals get together and they are basically like secluded until they choose a new pope, which they just do by voting a whole bunch until eventually one person gets a certain number of votes. And let me tell you, there is drama.
Oh boy, is there ever drama?
I've seen a lot of people compare it to Real Housewives, but I don't think that's a good description. Because the problem with Real Housewives is the drama's all out in the open. And instead, I think Conclave is more of a cross between Survivor and a Jane Austen novel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because everybody secretly wants to be pope themselves or have one of their allies become pope. And so they're all scheming and like making secret alliances and then like doing the votes. But nobody can actually campaign openly or like openly say, like if they think somebody would make a bad pope, they can't actually say that because there's all these protocols that they have to follow. So that's sort of like where I get like it felt like Jane Austen-y to me in terms of like you're under all these strict societal rules. You can't really say what you think, but you have to sort of find ways to say it anyways. So they're always like talking around what they really mean and like layering their true meaning under layers of like ritual and flowery language that where they are implying what they want to say but never actually saying it, but making sure everybody knows what they mean. It is so good. It's so good. Yeah,
and I just looked it up while you were talking, and what a cast!
Yeah,
Jesus,
so
Ray Fiennes,
Ralph
Fiennes,
Fiennes,
Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini.
Isabella Rossellini as a nun. Oh my God, she's amazing in it. Amazing.
This is not serious drama. This is like really good trash.
Yeah, but it's also beautiful to look at. They apparently recreated the entire Sistine Chapel because they obviously couldn't go film in the real thing. So they recreated it. It is so that's the thing. It is trashy drama disguised as like a
high cinema.
Yeah. Like it's beautiful to look at. The acting is amazing, and yet the drama itself is just it's so good. It's so good.
It contains the single most brutal vape hit in cinematic history.
Oh my God. Watching a cardinal vape in their like cardinal robes, amazing.
I'm in.
Endorsed.
That sounds great.
On the opposite end, my recommendation, brought to you by Eric, is an anime and manga called Horimiya. I'm going to spell that for you because it's two characters' names mashed together. Horimiya. It is a series. It is an anime and manga about two mismatched high schoolers who fall in love and the people around them. It's a very messy story. It's a very funny and lovely story. And it allows people to be flawed. And at the end of the series, I loved absolutely every character in the series. It's fantastic. Horimiya.
All right.
And that's the episode. Thank you for listening to this nonsense. Next week, we'll revisit the episode as a second contact and hear Maria and Jamie's thoughts once they have actually watched it. After that, the next full episode will be about Dead Stop. Ooh, can you imagine if this ship was frozen in space? All the things that would happen?
Oh, God. Oh, God. All right.
Gratitudes. Special thanks to K.O. Myers at Particulate Media for sound assistance, and to our friend David for our beautiful cover art, and to John Stephen King for being the voice of our computer. If you like this show, please rate, review, and subscribe on your podcast app of choice, and tell your friends about it. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook as Enterprise-Splaining, and on Blue Sky as @EnterpriseSplain. You can also email us any comments, questions. I don't even know what questions people have for us at this point. Send us your Diane Warren updates. Yeah, have you met Diane Warren? Have you had any interaction? Have you been to a concert? Send that to us. We would frickin' love that.
Actually, yeah. But also, that is like half the emails we get are people being like,
oh, sure.
Did you see this article about Diane Warren?
Fantastic.
Please send us all of that. That's great.
Send us that to enterprisesplaining@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And if you want to support this podcast, you can find us on Buy Me a Coffee as Enterprise Splaining. We will see you in 1 week. Gasp. Complete change. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Computer and program.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.